All right, here we go with predictions for UFC 175 this Saturday night on pay-per-view and also the prelims on Fox Sports 1. A card which features not one, but two title fights. We've got Ronda Rousey defending her UFC Women's Bantamweight title, and we have Chris Weidman defending his UFC Middleweight title. So I got 5 predictions for this particular go-round. I'm going to do 4 fights from the pay-per-view card, and I'm actually going to start with the main event of the preliminary fights, which you can see on Fox Sports 1. All right, so the first fight I want to start with is Uriah Faber, the California Kid, taking on Alex Caceres, also known as Bruce Leroy. Now, Bruce Leroy, maybe it's just easier to call him that. He's certainly been climbing the ranks in the bantamweight division. He's always a fun and exciting guy to watch. He's got this smirk on his face, which almost makes him seem kind of cocky, but I really think he's just out there having a blast. That's just how he is. But he's taken on Uriah Faber, who has shown, at least in non-title fights, that the dude is a beast. It seems like when he gets in that big fight for the belt, that something just happens, and he just doesn't perform like he does in non-title fights. So I'm actually going to go with Uriah Faber by decision. I think I just think he's too powerful for Bruce Leroy at this weight in this weight class. So I think Uriah is gonna grind him and wear him out, and he's gonna get the decision. All right, so next up we turn our attention to the main card, the pay-per-view card. This should be the second fight of the night on the pay-per-view. It's Uriah Hall versus Thiago Santos. Now, Uriah Hall, you may remember from a couple seasons ago of The Ultimate Fighter, he looked like one of the scariest dudes you'd ever see in the UFC. It looked like this guy was going to dominate for a long time. He had one of the scariest knockouts ever, not only for The Ultimate Fighter, but just in UFC history. But then something happened. When he finally got into the UFC, his last couple fights were just not the same kind of killer instinct guy that we're used to seeing. So I'm hoping that maybe that fire has been lit under Uriah Hall, and he comes back and he shows us the guy that we saw at the early onset of of his season of The Ultimate Fighter. So I'm hoping for that. I'm actually predicting that's going to happen, and I'm picking Uriah Hall to defeat Thiago Santos by knockout/TKO, some sort of ref stoppage due to strikes. All right, so next up we turn to the UFC heavyweight division, the big guys. Well, at least in this case, the tall guys. We've got Stefan Struve, skyscraper, standing about 9 feet tall, taking on Matt Mitrione. I'm not sure how these guys ended up the third fight of the night on a pay-per-view card. Neither one of them is ranked in the heavyweight division that I know of, but they usually put on exciting fights. Stefan Struve has been in some battles over the year. Matt Mitrione, they call him Meathead because you can just beat on his face and his head and he just won't go down. He just keeps coming and coming and coming. So it should be an exciting fight. There's no way that I could predict this goes to the judges. I don't know if either one of them could make it to the judges. So I don't think it's going to go the distance. I'm actually going to pick Stefan Struve by submission. Next up is the co-main event of the night, which features Rowdy Ronda Rousey, the UFC Women's Bantamweight champion, taking on number 1 challenger contender lady Alexis Davis. Until somebody proves me wrong, I'm not going to go against Ronda Rousey. And I'm not going to go against Ronda Rousey by submission. That's what she does. She beats people up and she submits them. So I have no reason to think otherwise in this fight. No offense, Alexis. Honestly, I don't know much about you, but it doesn't matter who she'd be fighting. It doesn't matter what I do or don't know about you, Alexis. I'm picking Ronda Rousey by submission. And that's probably what's going to happen. And finally, we turn to the main event of the evening for the UFC middleweight belt. We have Chris Weidman, the champ, defending his title against Lyoto the Dragon Machida. Now, Chris Weidman is coming off back-to-back wins against arguably the best fighter in the history of the planet. 2 convincing, undeniable wins against Anderson Silva. But Lyoto Machida, he's no joke. He's had some great success in that lighter weight class. He's dropped down from 205 to 185 to middleweight. And he is a legit contender, no doubt about that. He's elusive. He's kind of hard to figure out. He's hard to hit. He's hard to catch. but I do think that Chris Weidman will have what it takes to get the win. I think last I checked, Chris Weidman was a 2-1 favorite. I agree with those odds, and I think Chris Weidman is going to win. I think it's going to go the distance, and I'm going to pick Chris Weidman by decision, retaining that UFC middleweight belt on Saturday night. Yeah. So hopefully you'll be able to watch the fights on Saturday night, and we'll see how I do. I can't imagine I'll do any better than I have in the past, which means all my picks will be wrong, which means we'll have a new UFC middleweight champion. Who knows? Watch the fights. Subscribe to our channel, by the way. If you haven't done so yet, you can subscribe. How about right here? You want to put it here? Or maybe right here. One of those places. Subscribe to the 103 GBF YouTube channel. And then maybe next week I'll do a recap, and we'll see how I did. Thanks!